Alright, welcome to a captivating exploration of the world's most influential philosophical schools of thought, both from the East and the West. Today we embark on an intellectual adventure, delving into the profound ideas that have shaped human understanding across cultures and throughout history. Rather than simply list these traditions, we will immerse ourselves in their core concepts and uncover the fascinating threads of similarity that often connect them. Our journey will take us from the ancient wisdom of Zoroastrianism, a wellspring of monotheistic thought, through the logical rigor of Greek philosophy, the very foundation of Western intellectual tradition. We'll then turn our gaze eastward to explore the mindful practices of Buddhism, the harmonious naturalism of Taoism, the intellectual dynamicism of Islamic philosophy during its Golden Age, the deeply personal and mystical path of Sufism, as well as the unifying egalitarian principles of Sikhism. We will also explore the syncretic wisdom of Hermeticism, the practical ethics of Roman philosophy, and the foundational cosmological and ethical concept of ancient Egyptian philosophy. In our increasingly interconnected world, appreciating the nuances and shared insights of these diverse philosophical traditions is more vital than ever. Fostering cross-cultural understanding and revealing the enduring questions that have captivated the human mind for millennia. But before we get into it, hey, I'm Aqua or Aquarius of Fallen Snow if you don't know me. Welcome if this is your first time here, but if you've been here before, welcome back, happy to have you here again. I'm excited for this video and I hope you are too. Let's jump right into it. Our exploration begins with Zoroastrianism, a spiritual tradition originating in ancient Persia, likely around the 6th century BCE. Marking it as one of the oldest monotheistic religions still practiced today. Founded by the prophet Zoroaster, or Zarathustra, its impact on the development of religious and philosophical thought is profound. At its heart lies a groundbreaking dualistic overview, introducing the concepts of two primal opposing forces: Ahura Mazda, the wise lord, representing all that is good, true, and light, and Angra Mainyu, the destructive spirit embodying evil, falsehood, and darkness. This isn't merely an abstract battle. It's a dynamic cosmic struggle that influences every facet of existence. For instance, the Zoroastrian understanding of creation posits Ahura Mazda as the benevolent creator, which Angra Mainyu actively seeks to corrupt and destroy this goodness. This dualism provides a framework for understanding the process of both good and suffering in the world as part of this ongoing cosmic drama. Central to the human role in this struggle is the emphasis on free will, empowering individuals to choose between the path of Asha, representing the truth and righteousness, and Druj, embodying the falsehood and chaos. This choice manifests in our daily thoughts, world, and deeds, encapsulated in the ethical traits of Hamata, Hukta, and Harashta. Good thoughts, good words, and good deeds. These principles aren't just ideals, they represent active participation in strengthening the forces of good. The influence of Zoroastrianism on later traditions is significant, with concepts like a single god, a cosmic battle between good and evil, individuals' moral choice, final judgment, and ideas of heaven and hell finding echoes in Arabic religions, highlighting its crucial historical context. Moving westward, we arrive at the birthplace of Western thought, Greek philosophy. Beginning in the 6th century BCE with the pre-Socratic thinkers, a remarkable shift occurred from mythological explanations to a pursuit of rational understanding. Thinkers like Thales, Anaximander, and Heraclitus sought to identify the fundamental substance of the cosmos and the principle of change with Heraclitus' famous observation about never stepping in the same river twice illustrating the concept of constant flux. The Golden Age of Greek philosophy, marked by Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, laid the intellectual groundwork for Western civilizations. Socrates thought his relentless questioning emphasized self-examination and the pursuit of virtue through knowledge, leaving us with the enduring directive to know thyself. His student, Plato, developed the influential theory of forms, envisioning a realm of perfect and eternal ideas of forms, of which our physical world is but an imperfect reflection. For example, the beauty we perceive in a flower is a fleeting manifestation of the perfect form of beauty. Aristotle, Plato's student, adopted a more empirical approach, emphasizing the study of the observable world and making groundbreaking contributions to logic and the understanding of causality, identifying four distinct causes that explain how things come to be. The unwavering emphasis on reason and logic as tools for understanding the world and achieving wisdom become a defining characteristic of Western intellectual traditions, influencing fields from science to ethics and politics for centuries to come, even extending its reach to the development of Islamic philosophy. Now, Roman philosophy, while deeply influenced by its Greek predecessor, developed its own distinct characteristics, particularly in its practical application to ethics and governance. Stoicism, founded by Zeno of Citium but popularized by Roman thinkers like Seneca, Epictetus, and Marcus Aurelius, emphasized living in accordance with reason and virtue. It taught that true happiness arises from accepting what lies beyond our control and focusing on cultivating inner virtue as exemplified in Seneca's ethical letters, Epictetus's practical enchiridion, and Marcus Aurelius's introspective meditations. Epicureanism, thought Greek in origin, also found adherents in Rome, advocating that the highest good is pleasure, understood not as mere sensational indulgence, but as atraxia, a state of tranquility and freedom from disruptance, and aponia, the absence of pain, a state of tranquility and freedom from disturbance, achievable through knowledge, friendship, and a simple life. Neoplatonism, developed by Plotinus in Rome, synthesized Platonic thought with mystical and religious elements, positing a hierarchical reality emanating from the One, influencing both pagan and early Christian philosophical thought, including the influential ideas of Augustine. Ancient Egyptian philosophy, while perhaps less systematically codified than Greek or Roman thought, nonetheless exerted profound influence on later traditions through its rich cosmological and ethical concepts. Central to Egyptian thought was the concept of Ma'at, representing truth, balance, order, harmony, law, morality, and justice. Ma'at permeated all aspects of Egyptian society, from governments and law to social interactions and religious beliefs, with pharaohs expected to uphold this cosmic order. Egyptian cosmology, with its intricate creation myth involving deities like Ra, Osiris, and Isis, and the emergence from the primordial waters of Nun, offered philosophical insights into the nature of existence and influenced later religious and philosophical traditions, including the ideas of creation through the world or thought of a supreme deity. The Egyptian Book of the Dead contained profound philosophical reflections on the nature of the afterlife, the judgment of the souls, the weighing of the heart, and the journey through the underworld, ideas that would resonate in later religious and philosophical beliefs. Furthermore, the wisdom literature of ancient Egypt, such as the instructions of Ptahhotep and the maxims of Ani, provided a practical and ethical guidance on social conduct, humility, and justice. bearing striking similarity to later philosophical works across different cultures. Emerging during the Hellenistic period in Egypt, Hermeticism represents a fascinating confluence of Greek philosophical ideas, Egyptian wisdom, and elements of Jewish and early Christian thought attributed to the mythical figure of Hermes Trismegistus. At its heart lies the profound principle of as above, so below, suggesting a fundamental interconnectedness between the macrocosm of the universe and the microcosm of the individual. This correspondence serves as a cornerstone for Hermetic thought, influencing various domains from astrology, which posits planetary influence on earthly events, to alchemy, which explores the connections between earthly and celestial substances, and even the understanding of human anatomy as a reflection of the larger cosmic order. Hermeticism posits the existence of one transcendent God, often referred to as the All or the One, considered both the creator and the very substance of the cosmos, blending monotheistic and pantheistic perspectives. The tradition also emphasizes the potential for spiritual transformation through the acquisition of divine knowledge, often symbolized as the soul's journey through the seven heavens, each associated with a classical planet and its unique challenges and virtues. Key Hermetic texts such as the Emerald Tablet, with its foundational axioms, have exerted a significant influence on Renaissance thought, magic, and various esoteric traditions, highlighting its enduring appeal. Turning eastward from Egypt, we encounter Buddhism, a philosophy and religion founded by Siddhartha Gautama in ancient India. At its core lies the Four Noble Truths, which offer a diagnosis of human condition, identifying suffering, dukkha or dukkha, its roots in attachment, tanha, the possibility of liberation, nirvana, and the path to liberation through the Eightfold Path. These paths encompass right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, offering a comprehensive guide to ethical and mindful living. A key philosophical concept in Buddhism is anatta, or non-self, which challenges the conventional notion of a permanent, unchanging self, encouraging a radical rethinking of identity and existence through analogies like a chariot bringing a collection of parts rather than a fixed entity. The Buddhist emphasis on mindfulness and meditation practices aim at cultivating present moment awareness has gained significant traction in recent years, influencing fields ranging from psychology to neuroscience, and highlighting the practical application of Buddhist philosophy in contemporary life. Continuing east, originating in China, Taoism centers around the profound concept of the Tao, often translated to the way. The Tao is viewed as a fundamental source of underlying essence of all existence, an ineffable principle that governs the universe, often described through metaphors like flowing water or the uncarved block to convey its natural and unpretentious nature. A central Taoist concept is Wu Wei, often translated as non-action or effortless action, which doesn't imply inactivity, but rather acting in harmony with the natural flow of the Tao. Like a skilled musician playing effortlessly or a leader guiding without excessive control. Taoism places a strong emphasis on living in harmony with nature and the cosmos, advocating for simplicity and appreciation of the natural world, principles that have profoundly influenced Chinese culture, art, poetry, and even approaches to health and medicine, such as traditional Chinese medicine. The concept of yin and yang representing complementary and interconnected opposites further illustrates the Taoist understanding of balance and harmony within the universe. Turning back west now, flourishing during the Islamic Golden Age, Islamic philosophy made significant contributions to various fields of thought by preserving, translating, and building upon the works of Greek thinkers, integrating these ideas with Islamic theology. Philosophers like Averroes, Ibn Rushd, and Ibn Sina made crucial advancements in logic, metaphysics, and natural philosophy, with their works later profoundly influencing European philosophy during the Renaissance. Averroes, through his commentaries on Aristotle, explored the relationship between philosophy and religion, while Avicenna's contributions spanned medicine and metaphysics, including his influential theory of the soul. Islamic philosophy grappled with fundamental questions concerning reason and faith, free will and determination, and the nature of existence, leading to rich intellectual traditions that continue to be studied and debated today, highlighting the dynamic interplay between philosophical inquiry and religious belief. Sufism, the mystical dimension of Islam, offered a unique and deeply personal philosophical perspective centered on the concept of divine unity, or Tawhid, the idea that all existence is fundamentally one with the divine. Sufism emphasizes achieving a direct personal experience of the divine through practices such as dhikr, remembrance of God, sama, spiritual listening, and meditation, concentrating on the more rationalistic approaches to philosophy by prioritizing experiential knowledge. Sufi poetry and literature, exemplified by the profound works of figures like Rumi and Hafiz, have had a lasting impact on world culture, offering deep insights into themes of love, spirituality, and the complexities of the human condition through rich metaphors and allegorical expressions. The existence of various Sufi orders, each with its unique practices and lineages, further illustrate the diverse paths within the mystical tradition. Founded by Guru Nanak in 15th century India, Sikhism represents a unique synthesis of elements from Hindu and Islamic traditions. At its core is the belief in one God, known as Ik Onkar, who is formless, eternal, and accessible to all. Sikh philosophy strongly emphasizes equality, actively rejecting distinctions based on caste, creed, or gender, a principle put into practice through institutions like the Langar, the community kitchen open to all. The concept of seva, or selfless service, is central to Sikh ethics, manifested in various forms of physical, mental, and financial contributions to the community. Guru Nanak's assertion that there is no Hindu and no Muslim speaks to a universal spirituality that transcends religious boundaries, a practical, relevant message in our diverse modern world, emphasizing the common spiritual heritage of humanity. But let's take a second to reflect on these diverse philosophical traditions. Several compelling common themes emerge, highlighting the shared concerns of humanity across different cultures and epochs. The search for ultimate reality, whether conceived as Plato's forms of the good, the Tao as the source of all things, the Islamic concept of Allah, or the Hermetic all, represents a fundamental human quest to understand the deepest nature of existence. Furthermore, the emphasis on ethical living and moral development is a recurring motif, evident in the Zoroastrian triad, the Buddhist Eightfold Path, Taoist virtue, Islamic ethical teachings, Stoic principles, and the Sikh emphasis on honest living. The recognition of interconnectedness also appears in various forms, from the Taoist harmony with nature, the Sufi unity of being, to the Hermetic principle of as above, so below, the Buddhist concept of interbeing, as well as the Sikh emphasis on the interconnectedness of humanity. The value of self-reflection and inner experience is another shared emphasis, seen in the Greek introspective to know thyself, Buddhist mindfulness practices, the Sufi inner journey, and the Hermetic focus on inner knowledge. Finally, many of these traditions grapple with the nature of the self, offering diverse perspectives ranging from the Buddhist concept of non-self to the Hindu idea of Atman and Brahman, the Sufi annihilation of the ego, and the Western emphasis on individual identity. While our exploration has touched upon some of the most prominent philosophical traditions, the vast landscape of human thought encompasses numerous other influential schools that, while perhaps not always in the mainstream spotlight, have significantly shaped intellectual history and continue to offer valuable perspectives. Let's immerse ourselves further in a few of these compelling viewpoints. Going back to ancient Greece, we find Cynicism, founded by Antithenes, a student of Socrates, and most famously embodied by Diogenes of Sinope, presented a radical and often provocative approach to living a virtuous life. At its core was a belief that happiness, eudaimonia, is achieved by living in accordance with nature and reason alone, vehemently rejecting the artificial constructions of society. This meant a deliberate dismissal of wealth, social status, political power, and even conventional manners and etiquette. Diogenes, living in a large ceramic jar, often misconstrued as a tub, and famously carrying a lamp in broad daylight, claiming to be searching for an honest man, became the iconic figure of this philosophy. His encounters with powerful figures, such as his legendary request to Alexander the Great to move out of his sunlight, starkly illustrates the cynic disregard for worldly authority and possessions. The cynics champion self-sufficiency, arguing that true freedom and happiness come from inner independence rather than the eternal dependencies. Their relentless critique of social norms and institutions, though sometimes perceived as abrasive or eccentric, laid the groundwork for later ethical and political philosophies that questioned authority, advocated for simple living, and emphasized individual autonomy. Thinkers like the Stoics, while differing in their approach, were influenced by the Cynic emphasis on virtue and living in accordance with nature. Skepticism, another ancient Greek philosophy from around the same time, far from being mere doubt or negativity, represented a sophisticated philosophical stance concerning the limits of human knowledge. Pyrrho of Elis, often considered the founder of Pyrrhonism, advocated for epoch, for the suspension of judgment. Pyrrhonian skeptics argued that because our senses and reasoning processes are fallible and often contradictory, we cannot attain certain knowledge about the true nature of reality. Consequently, the wise person should refrain from making definitive claims, instead cultivate ataraxia, a state of tranquility achieved by accepting the inherent uncertainty of things. Later skeptical schools, such as the academic skeptics associated with Plato's Academy, also engaged in rigorous questioning of dogmatic assertions, though they sometimes adopted a more critical and argumentative approach rather than complete suspension of judgment. The enduring legacy of skepticism lies in its promotion of intellectual humility, critical thinking, and rigorous inquiry, playing a vital role in the development of both philosophy and the scientific method, by constantly challenging assumptions and demanding strong evidence. Vedanta, meaning the culmination of knowledge or the end of the Vedas, encompasses a diverse range of philosophical schools that draw their primary inspirations Upanishads, the philosophical spiritual texts that form the concluding part of the Vedic scriptures. These schools offer various interpretations of fundamental relationship between the individual self, Atman, and the ultimate reality, Brahman. Advaita Vedanta, the non-dualistic school championed by Adi Shankaracharya in the 8th century CE, posits that Brahman is the sole undifferentiated reality. The individual self is ultimately is ultimately identical to it. The perceived duality between the two is an illusion, Maya. Shankaracharya used rigorous logical arguments to establish the non-dual nature of reality, emphasizing the importance of realizing this oneness for liberation. In contrast, Vishesh Tadvaita Vedanta, advocated by Ramunja in the 11th century CE, proposed a qualified non-dualism where Brahman is the supreme reality, but individual souls and matter are distinct yet inseparable attributes of Brahman. Dvaita Vedanta, propounded by Madhvanchara in the 13th century CE, presents a strict dualism asserting a fundamental and eternal difference between Brahman, individual souls, and the material world. These profound metaphysical inquiries of Vedanta into the nature of consciousness, reality, and the self have not only shaped the spiritual landscape of India for centuries, but have also increasingly attracted the attention of Western thinkers seeking deeper understanding of consciousness and the nature of existence. Emerging in the 19th century Europe and flourishing in the 20th century, existentialism, with influential figures like Soren Kierkegaard, Friedrich Nietzsche, Jean-Paul Sartre, Albert Camus, and Simone de Beauvoir, offered a powerful and often unsettling perspective on the human condition. A central tenet of existentialism is the assertion that existence precedes essence, meaning that unlike objects with a predefined purpose, humans are born into the world as a blank slate, and it's through their choices and actions that they create their own meaning and define their own essence. This radical freedom comes hand in hand with profound responsibility and confrontation with the inherent absurdity and meaninglessness of existence. Existentialists explored themes of anxiety, angst, the weight of freedom, the importance of authentic selfhood in the face of societal pressures, and the individual's search for meaning in a universe devoid of preordained purpose. For Sartre, we are condemned to be free, burdened by the responsibility of our own choices. Camus, in their works like The Myth of Sisyphus, explored the possibility of finding meaning and rebellion even in the face of the absurd. Existentialism's deep engagement with the subjective experience of being has had a profound impact on philosophy, literature, psychology, and art, prompting individuals to confront fundamental questions about their existence and the creation of value in a seemingly indifferent world. Moving overseas, originating in the late 19th and early 20th centuries in America, pragmatism, championed by thinkers such as Charles Sanders Peirce, William James, and John Dewey, offered a distinctive approach to understanding truth, knowledge, and value. At its core is the emphasis on the practical consequences of ideas and beliefs. For pragmatists, the truth of a statement is not determined by its correspondence to some fixed reality, but rather by its usefulness and its ability to effectively solve problems and guide actions in the real world. William James, for example, defined truth in terms of what works or what has cash value in our experience. John Dewey applied pragmatic principles to education, advocating for experiential learning and the development of practical skills. Pragmatism rejects abstract metaphysical speculations that have no tangible bearing on human experience, instead focusing on the role of experience, experimentation, and the continuous revision of beliefs in light of their consequences. This emphasis on practicality and problem solving has had a significant and lasting influence on American thought, particularly in the fields such as education, law, psychology, and political theory, shaping how we approach knowledge and action in a dynamic and changing world. By diving deeper into these lesser known yet impactful philosophical schools, we gain a richer and more nuanced understanding of the diverse ways in which humans have grappled with fundamental questions about existence, knowledge, ethics, and meaning. These traditions, while perhaps not always at the forefront of popular discourse, offer invaluable insights and continue to contribute to the ongoing evolution of philosophical thought. But as our expansive journey through philosophical traditions draws to a close, we've traversed a rich landscape of human thought, from the ancient wisdom of Egypt and Persia to the intellectual achievements of Greece and Rome and the profound insights of Eastern traditions. We've explored the dualistic worldview of Zoroastrianism, the logical rigor of Greek philosophy, the ethical teachings of Buddhism and Taoism, the intellectual depth of Islamic philosophy, the mystical dimensions of Sufism, and the syncretic approach of Sikhism. Our journey has also taken us through the esoteric teachings of Hermeticism, bringing Egyptian and Greek thought, the particular wisdom of Roman philosophy, and the fundamental concepts of ancient Egyptian philosophy. Furthermore, we've broadened our scope to include other impactful, though perhaps lesser known schools like Cynicism, Skepticism, Vedanta, Existentialism, and Pragmatism, each offering unique perspectives on the human condition and the nature of reality. Throughout these diverse systems, we've encountered recurring themes: the search for ultimate reality or truth, the importance of ethical living, the recognition of interconnectedness, the value of self-reflection, and exploration of the nature of the self. These commonalities remind us that the shared aspirations and insights of human thought across cultures and time. Understanding these diverse philosophical traditions enrich our own worldview and foster dialogue across cultures. In our increasingly interconnected world, this comparative approach to philosophy is more relevant than ever, allowing us to appreciate both the uniqueness of each tradition and the common threads that unite human thought. Like we're a bunch of mushrooms and mycelium, all connected but under the surface of the decomposing past matter on top and the soil above, right? I encourage you to continue exploring these fascinating philosophical systems, each offering unique insights into the human condition and our place in the cosmos. By engaging with diverse philosophical ideas, we expand our understanding not just of the world, but of ourselves. Thank you for joining me on this philosophical exploration. Remember, philosophy is not just an academic exercise, but a living, breathing inquiry into the nature of existence and our role within it. Keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep learning. The wisdom of the ages awaits your discovery. Nice. So, we've got to the end of the script. That was a script I had help with from both Gemini and Perplexity AI, which are both pretty good, especially when prompted correctly or you give them good prompts to work with. And I'd love to hear what you think and your thoughts about this video and the script. So drop a comment. I would love to get some constructive criticism and try to improve these videos for the future. I'll give a bit of my own thoughts on the subject. I think it is extremely important to, compare philosophies and religion and people's ideas and thinking to really, put the picture together and get more pieces of the puzzle, not only for ourselves, but to make our understanding of the world greater, to broaden our scope and our view, and to more easily be able to put ourselves in other people's shoes for understanding and community and fostering that growth and empathy within the world and within human connection, right? I think we definitely have to focus on, engaging with each other in a positive and encouraging way rather than just trying to knock each other down or saying no, I have all the answers or that's not right, so I'm just going to completely dismiss it or argue or whatever it is. But that goes hand in hand with also when we see things in the world that we don't agree with, like war or our tax dollars being used for the wrong purposes or just going to funding these these poor sources, for lack of better words, right? And I just noticed peace back here on the table. Very cute. But yeah, we definitely need to protest and make our voices heard to fight against oppression, fascism, oligarchs, techno-feudalism, and techno-fascism, like all of it, right? And then I think an idea that goes hand in hand with this and philosophy is the idea of pathocracy, which I have a full video going in depth, breaking down what it is, the definition, and the origins, where it started, the etymology of it, right? And it basically explains that the world is run by narcissists, psychopaths, and sociopaths, and we're basically living in a world that's built up by those people, right? And it really makes you look at the world and think about, like, the hierarchical systems in a different way. You know what I mean? Maybe it's not just average people who are in control, but maybe there are people with mental disorders or conditions, or traits of mental disorders or conditions, that are in power taking advantage of the system, right? But yeah, I still need to edit this video and see how long it turns out, so I won't keep blabbing much longer here. I'll leave it here for now. But then yeah, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to drop a like, and like I said earlier, drop a comment for constructive criticism or what you thought of the vid. I would love to hear it. And while you're down there, might as well subscribe so you don't miss another video, right? But then yeah, I'll leave it here for now. Like I say in all my videos, I love you, stay safe, good luck, and take it easy.